Anti-Afro Svengalis. I let you know there were two bombshells. Here's bombshell number two. I had called my friend to let her know what was going on with this legal enforcement issue. And of course, here come more alerts. And we're like, okay, what next? So the what next is an anti-fraud warrior sends this text message. Then another anti-fraud warrior sends an email. And then here come more anti-fraud warriors sending these notices. And of course, they know it's high alert whenever they are aware that Umar books or tries to get on for hyena yelping at colleges and universities or K through 12 institutions, because we know he tries to present himself as a mental health expert. And sure enough, that is what Umar was trying to do. That's high alert. And so I placed a call to the college, whose name I will not mention because they did the right thing there in Louisiana, and they canceled the Hyena Yelp. But wait, people, I'm not one to take credit for the good deeds of others. And I'm not about to do that right now. Because when I called the college to launch my protest, I was informed that the Hyena Yelp had already been canceled. So, you all know me. I'm going to be inquiring. And inquire I did. Would you be willing to tell me the reasons as to why the Hyena Yelp was canceled? And by the way, the conversation didn't go exactly like that. It was an engagement. I explained the purpose of my call, the history of my involvement with the situation involving Umar Johnson. The person was very familiar with the situation and identified the individual who was responsible for making the decision to cancel the Hyena Yelp. And absolutely, the person did give me the reasons why the Hyena Yelp was canceled, and there were several. But before I tell you about that, I want to revisit the objections that we have heard people raise when it comes to anybody daring to think they have a right to lodge complaints against Umar, who tries to slither onto K through 12 institutions, colleges and universities, espousing beliefs that are grounded in no belief system other than his own. And I'm not saying other people don't agree with him, but what belief system is this? It certainly isn't one that is harbored and taught and endorsed by any educational institution that gets federal funding. And that means, yes, an institution that allows you to be serviced by a student loan. That means you would have to make a commitment as an institution to not allow racial discrimination. And that's what Umar is practicing when he engages in this behavior. So let me tell you the reasons that were given. Oh, but let me tell you this. I can't even tell you which letter, or even if it was from an anti-fraud warrior that got the bigwig at this college to 86 Umar's Hyena Yelp, because virtually at the same time, when I was on the phone with Sister Friend, I heard from all these anti-fraud warriors. So based on what they were telling me, they didn't even get a chance to communicate with the college in time for the college bigwig to write up that letter, which was pretty long, and send it off. There wasn't enough time. So that tells you the reach is far beyond just anti-fraud warriors. There just was not enough time. This was all going on literally at the same time. Nonetheless, the anti-fraud warriors said they were going to be sending in letters anyway. That just goes to show you how extensive the knowledge has become when you look at Umar's behaviors. People know. You have situations here where people want you to think it's just anti-Afro-Svengalis who's focused on Umar, and you have just only Lennon Honor doing his videos, and you have just Rev G and 2 or 3 other channels. No, KKC has told everyone, and that was what, 3 months ago. There were like 55 YouTube channels focused on Umar. And since then, it has grown. You know, our folks do get fed up with the bullshit. We will open up our mouth and speak. And what we're saying is the truth. This is Umar being on some bullshit, and we're fed up with it. And here's the other crazy thing I want to put out there. Pick your profession, especially when you have people like, oh goodness, this person who sells this not insurance, excuse me, is a tax preparer. And if you were to come out on YouTube and say, tax preparer, let me get into that business. I can be a tax preparer because I'm assuming you're a tax preparer. You can steal people's money. You're in the position to do that, right? So if you said, I'm going to be a tax preparer so I can figure out how to steal the money myself. If you got on YouTube and you were talking like that, and you were targeting the tax preparer business, and you're going only after single black mothers so you can get their deductions, do you think that this person would be speaking up and complaining about that? You better believe the person would. So what the hell are people talking about that I don't have a right to speak up if Umar Johnson is an imposter in my profession? It is so ridiculous, and I am not going to shut my mouth. I am going to keep talking. I have stated this before, and I will continue to state it. I will let any and everyone know exactly what Umar is doing. He's not a mental health professional. He never has been a mental health professional. He never will be a mental health professional. Plain, simple fact. So let me tell you, and it's pretty shocking because I did ask and I did receive the answers. Do you happen to have the reasons that led to this cancellation? I wanted some specifics and I got those specifics. And again, I don't know where this information originated. If it was an anti-fraud warrior, one thing I will say though, I will say this, we're pretty good about letting each other know, okay, I wrote this letter, just wanted to give you an FYI. I'm not saying each and every time, but we're pretty good about letting each other know about something like this, especially if it's a college or university. We're going to let each other know. So that communication that was sent by the college bigwig cited that he's been collecting the money for all this time, that he's doxing people and sending others to harass his critics and dox his critics, questionable and verifiable degrees. He wrote a quote book, and I call it the Kinko's print job, that has no references. He calls ADHD ain't no daddy at home disorder. What else? tells parents not to get their kids evaluated for special ed because they're at home or in virtual education. I mean, it's so ridiculous. How do you tell a parent what to do with their child? It's ridiculous. And they talked about him hyena yelping across the nation. And you know, the word hyena yelp is my terminology. Hugging up on sisters, ignoring the COVID-19 protocol. And there were some other things that were referenced. Now, this information was given again to the college bigwig, and it was unknown to me if this was compiled from one letter or multiple. I'm assuming it's from multiple sources. Who wants a person that engages in this behavior on their campus? And also, it was relayed to me that this campus has had some issues. I think I may have mentioned that earlier. They had some issues and they do not want any problems. Now, if you have a university or a college, you're bound to have some things going on. If you have things going on, you don't want to invite more trouble. Don't you want the powers to be, the authorities, to believe that you're trying to make things better? Why would you want to bring attention to your institution by having someone on campus that is known for inciting such negativity and threatening people and doxing people and saying he's going to kill people? And I made it very clear. I gave my story and I made it known that Umar threatened my life and the lives of other people. I don't care if they already canceled the event. So if next year comes up and he tries to get back on campus, you have my story, my truth. And I made sure they knew exactly what happened with me, how it all got started. And I'm going to continue to tell my story. It makes absolutely no sense that you have an issue or a concern about someone. Your information is factual. You make that information known and your life is threatened. That's not acceptable. I will not accept that. When that happens, each and every time that happens, and I become aware of that, I'm going to open up my mouth and I'm going to tell any and everybody that will listen. And you all know that includes the cops. And since we're on the internet, that's going to include the FBI. And let me talk about this for a second. This issue that these faking ass fools want to complain about when it comes to calling the police, the FBI, etc., which is the most horrifically hypocritical stance I have ever come across here anywhere or on the internet, especially since we look at the situation with young Pharaoh. Yes, I'm bringing up young Pharaoh. This is an excellent chance to illustrate his situation. You had people here on the internet calling the FBI, calling his probation officer when he was on probation, telling absolute, total, bald-faced lies. And young Pharaoh has actually chronicled these incidents on YouTube where he's had to go to hearings and actual trial because people have made up outrageous, ridiculous lies. And guess what? Acquitted. Determined to be unfounded. Well, that's the process he had to undergo. And if someone decides, and again, you're free to decide whether or not you believe he's a fraud. Absolutely, you are free to decide that. If somebody wants to accept explanation for situations that he's come on and shown you documentation for, fine, I'm not arguing that. But the focus was very specific. It was evil. It was treacherous. It was specifically designed to get him locked up, and it failed. That's what I'm talking about. It is very different when you look at the situation with Umar Johnson. You consider that justifiable because you don't agree with someone or you have a dispute with someone? And then now you're going to try to complain when somebody is reporting an actual threat. Even if somebody doesn't think something is a threat, you have somebody verbalizing the intent, the desire to commit actual sexual torture, and somebody wants to say you shouldn't be calling the police, but it's okay to make up lies about somebody to the point where they have to go to an actual criminal trial and it's based on lies. So get the hell out of here about saying you shouldn't be calling the police on someone. And so it's to the point where you have somebody that had to stay on probation for a complete and total 5 years and didn't have a single solitary violation, although every effort was made to get him to have his probation violated and sent to actual prison. So kiss my ass about calling the cops. These people are a bunch of hypocrites. They cry and whine when the police kick their ass, but here they are calling the cops on people making false reports. The issue is when they go to Young Pharaoh's YouTube page, they simply pee their pants, poop their pants because they look at the sub count. See, that is ridiculous. I was talking to people about this. The second people get a monetized channel where they can get money, that's the problem. The second they see somebody who is actually bringing in revenue on YouTube, that's the problem, because they're weak and dusty, and I don't even use that word, but I'm using it now, and they don't have any semblance of creativity where they on their own can bring in revenue. So they have to try to make life hell. And let's get back to Young Pharaoh, because back when Young Pharaoh first came to YouTube, he was really rough around the edges. I could see he had talent. And so did these fools. They're losers. And he got mentored. He got these skills honed. And look what's happened now. He is making a living on YouTube. So are many other people. The losers who can't make a living on YouTube, who have to hijack other people's live streams and can't even freaking get super chats. And they're whining about other people's super chats, constantly making up lies about people, and don't even care that Young Pharaoh had court cases where he prevailed. Now, going to court, you can trash our system all you want. This is it, people. You're not going to go to Kenya to have a case heard. You are a U.S. citizen. And if you're here in the U.S. and you're not a citizen, you're still going to use the U.S. court system if you're going to have an issue worked out and it's going to have any type of enforcement on it. So you can be an ignorant ass fool all you want. So people who want to operate outside of whatever they want to operate outside of, they can. I don't give a damn. And you shouldn't either, people. So we're moving on. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. Let people exist in hell all they want. That's their existence. That's their existence. In the meantime, we're going to keep making the reports if the reports are justified. We haven't made up a single solitary thing. There is no need to make up anything. The facts are right there in front of your face. Speaking of facts, what do we see now, people? All you need to do is click on any video with Umar. Have you seen the way this dude looks? Who in the hell would want him on their campus? You remember back a couple years ago how Umar could throw on even some semi-decent attire and halfway play it off, and he could halfway fool some people, and he could halfway bring in some money. He can't even do that right now. He can't even play it off, people. It's pitiful. But this is what Umar has created for himself. But he's trying to force people to go along with it, especially those who've never bought the bullshit. So at this point, He's not going to be able to force anybody to go along with jack shit, especially those of us who he's threatened to kill, especially those people whose families he's tried to place at risk. And if people were dumb enough to go along with what Umar told them to go along with, although Umar doesn't give a damn about any of those people, and personally we know that's a likewise, they are left to their own devices. So here we are again, and let's make it clear. The situation with this college, Hyena Yelp, going belly up, you don't think I'm going to use this as a springboard, yet another springboard, to reference when he tries again to go to another Hyena Yelp at another college? You got another thing coming. He's not going to be going around to colleges and universities impersonating with my profession. Get another gig. This is not going to work. It's something that not just me, many people are not going to tolerate. We're just simply not going to tolerate it. And nobody's going to force us to tolerate it. Listen, people, you know, I wasn't even planning these bombshells to detonate when they did. I knew they were coming, but they detonated way too soon. The other ones that are still in the hopper haven't exploded. Continue to keep your eyes on the community page. I'm going to have to get busy with my 2 timelines that I've got to meet. I'm going to keep you posted. Your support is so important. Look out for those who need us. Send the encouraging words. Let's stick together. You know the drill. Fire. Beware.